You can probably see that the session is being recorded. If you don't wish to be on the recording, you can turn your camera off, of course, but we're happy to see many faces. We do invite you to tell us who you are, to introduce yourself. You can put your name and your organization in the chat, and you can also use the chat function for questions that will be addressed after the presentation. Please mute yourself during the session to avoid any disturbances. And then, of course, this is a safe space for minoritized people, so we won't tolerate any form of abuse. We do encourage challenging and constructive conversation, but people's lived experiences are not up for debate. And if you breach this rule, you will be removed, and we will discuss the issues with you at a later time. If you have any safeguarding concerns and complaints to make after the event, please contact Claire O'Shea at hubcymruafrica.wales. Okay, before I hand over, just quickly about the community of practice, for anyone that is not familiar with this format, they are set up to create a space for peer learning and mutual support. They're also can also be a tool for problem solving and an opportunity for networking, of course, with other members of the Wales and Africa community interested in similar topics and working in similar areas. The gender community of practice meets about every 3 months, quarterly. And yeah, obviously it's about gender equality and women empowerment broadly. There's a different topic every time, and we very much welcome your input. Actually, if there's something you're interested in, or a speaker that you think would be great to invite, or something you'd like to present, anyone really, then please get in touch with us. We always really happy to hear from you. Same for today, of course. After the presentation, it would be great to have a bit of discussion, to just hear about your own experience. Okay, I think that's enough of me, really. I'm very honored now to welcome Joanna, stop sharing, of course. Joanna Jonas, who is our chair today, and who will, I think, you can introduce yourself and our speakers, if that would be okay. Thanks, Joanna.
All right, thank you, Lina. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Jonas. I'm the Executive Director for Nairasha Legal Support, a women's rights organization in Lesotho. So I'm currently joining you from Ghana. I'm also chair of the Board of Trustees for Dolan Cymru Lesotho, an organization that links Wales and Lesotho. Yes, thank you for joining us. My job is easy, to chair the discussion, and as Lina has said, we're going to hear from Rooda and Samuel from Bawso. I always say gender equality is not solely a women's issue, it's a human issue. And because of the long existing systemic inequalities that have been perpetuated by societal structures, excluding or marginalizing women and girls, men have historically benefited from these systems. And it's refreshing to see so many faces today, to see so many men join us today. I have also presented on this platform before, and I know the importance of the conversations that I had here. So I'm not going to talk much. Rooda and Samuel, I'll hand over to you to please introduce yourselves and take it off. Thanks.
Hi, Joanna. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think, Lena, if you can share the screen, please. Thank you so much. So my name is Rooda. I am from Bawso. I'm the project coordinator for the Bawso Sebei project. I have my colleague with me today who's kindly joined me from Uganda, Samuel. I will allow him to introduce himself and a bit about, the organization that he works for and the work that we are doing together. So Hub Cymru Africa has kindly invited us today to do a short presentation on the role of men within our project. And we hope to highlight and celebrate the positive contribution of men and address some of the challenges as well. Personally, I don't think men are celebrated enough. And I think there needs to be more recognition for men, because I think a lot of the work that we do on these projects are mainly for women and girls, which is equally as important, but I think that recognition of men is also equally important. So if we go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just a little bit about Bawso. For those of you who are not familiar, Bawso is an organization that was established in 1995 in Cardiff, and it essentially supported women from BME communities who are victims of domestic violence and provided safe refuge for them. To date, we support victims of forced marriages, FGM, honor-based violence, and victims of modern slavery and human trafficking. When I first started working for Bawso, I was an interpreter in my teens, came back and found that the organization has kind of grown, in such number. We have offices in Merthyr, Newport, Swansea, and Wrexham in North Wales. We even have men working in Bawso who support men who are victims of modern slavery and human trafficking. So it just shows how it's really grown over the years, over the last 29 years. Bawso also supports over 8,000 victims and survivors of violence annually, and it is estimated that we've supported over 250,000 people since 1995. Okay, so if I talk a little bit about our partnership with our Ugandan team, this particular funding that we applied for is with regards to FGM. And one of our main challenges, if you like, is to address the deep-seated cultural practices, particularly in the Sebei region. And we do that by communicating and having conversations with different people within the community, not just in Uganda, but also here in Wales. So I sort of deal with the Wales arm of the project, and Sam and his team are doing the bulk of the work on the ground to really try and challenge harmful social norms and attitudes towards FGM. And we hope to reduce FGM by 55% in 10 years. That's with consistent work around this issue, and it requires collaboration between Wales and Uganda. And we are very optimistic that this can lead to really positive changes for women and young girls. I have seen it within my own community, how it used to be practiced. I'm actually from Somalia, so I know that, growing up in Somalia, I was born in Somalia, but grew up here in Wales. And I know how attitudes have changed through dialogue, conversation, and just continuously raising awareness. So I do know that it can happen. And it is something that we are working towards. And we have a fantastic team in the Sebei region. We've got the Sebei Community Empowerment Project, who is working with us. We also have our Christian Partners Development Agency in Kenya, who we have worked with previously, who understand and have experience in addressing FGM, who is actually working with the Sebei Community Empowerment Project to share ideas and really to support them as well. So we are trying to make links within Africa. Okay, so some of the key achievements then in terms of some of the work that we've done in Wales with regards to benefits to Wales. One of our first objectives is to challenge the public attitude of violence against women through awareness raising and space for public discussion with the aim to decrease its occurrences. So we've held a number of community sessions in Wales. This picture shows the community session in Swansea. where we had a session with a diverse range of women from different backgrounds. It was really successful. We also had other sessions in Cardiff and Newport. And really, it was to gather insight into the public understanding and perception and attitudes towards FGM. The feedback we had from the women showed really good understanding of FGM and agreed that it's a cultural practice and has nothing to do with religion, which a lot of people believe to be so. And there's a general consensus that it's a human rights violation and a gender-based violence as well. They also agree that most effective measures in preventing FGM is through education and raising awareness through campaigns and community engagement and dialogue. However, they have highlighted that it shouldn't be through, that they shouldn't only, communities who have been affected by FGM shouldn't be targeted alone. It should be throughout the Welsh, throughout the Welsh community as a whole, and actually inform other people. Half of the women felt confident in speaking out for those affected by FGM and made further suggestions about FGM and efforts to end it. Just wanted to share a quote from one of our participants who said, "Change comes when communities feel included and not discriminated against or victimized." And I think that just goes back to not sort of just having dialogue and communication with communities affected by FGM, but actually having a more, diverse communication with other people living in Wales. And I think that was a really fair point. What we've also managed to do in Wales is go out into schools. Sorry, if you can go back. So yeah, we've gone out into schools and to really increase awareness in children, young people and adults about the importance of safe and equal, healthy relationships and empowering them to have a positive choice. We have been asked by a secondary school in Swansea to deliver sessions on healthy and unhealthy relationships. Although they wanted us to look at domestic abuse, we also touched on other forms of violence, which included FGM. So we've delivered sessions to key stage 3 children on these topics and touched on different forms of abuse. The sessions were received really well, and we have actually now reached 200 young people and some teacher sit-ins. And the main objective was to promote awareness by recognizing the different forms of violence. And it's also really important that young people are empowered by having the right knowledge and understanding to establish healthy relationships, but also to learn about the support systems for those experiencing abuse. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough, particularly in a school environment. So on the screen, we've got Year 8 feedback, and that just shows a snapshot of what young people thought that they have learned. And we hope to reach over 500 children in the next this academic year. Also, we have managed to, as I've previously said, connect communities in Africa. So our Kenyan partners went up to Uganda and visited our team up there, where they've shared experience and how they can end the practice. Our Kenyan partners, so they went over the summer holidays, and we have a really, they are already building a really positive relationship where they're sharing, supporting, and learning from one another. So we're really happy with that new relationship that's been formed. And we also hope to make further links within Africa, as we believe this is really crucial for things to really happen. Okay. This is a quote from one of our male volunteers. It is all about men, I suppose, today. We're celebrating Men's International Day. So this is a quote from Hilary, who is based in Swansea. We have 2 male volunteers in Swansea, and I've got 3 women also working on the project with me. And this is what Hilary had to say. I volunteer because I recognize a crucial role of men in driving positive change and actively combating violence against women. I am proud to be part of the movement that is reshaping the narrative around men's responsibility in addressing and preventing gender-based violence. I think this is really important to have men involved in these projects, whether it's here in Wales or whether it's in Uganda, in particular in Uganda because of the culture and making sure that you have those meetings and you have those engagements and conversations that can be tough sometimes. And having a man there, I think, makes a lot of difference. I think compared to maybe possibly having a woman lead the project. That's not to say that she can't do the job, but it's just he will be received. Men are received a lot more positively than women. Which is not a negative thing, by the way. It's just the culture and the society, and that's how it is, I think, in Africa, especially, coming from an African, background as well. That is definitely how it is in Africa. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think that was just a little bit about Bawso and the project and what we are doing in Uganda at the moment and what we hope to achieve. This is only the start, but I do feel that we have done some really positive work here and in Uganda, and now you'll be hearing from my colleague Sam, who is actually in Sebei at the moment. So I will hand it over to Sam, if that's okay. Thank you. Sam, do you want to unmute and come in? Sam, do you want to unmute? Unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, Rooda.
So am I heard now?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Rooda, for the articulate presentation. My name is Samuel Sokuton from Sebei. Sebei is in Uganda, far east, bordering Kenya. I am happy to be here. I am a first timer here, and I'm grateful that I've got this opportunity to share a bit about Sebei and about FGM in particular. We, members of Greater Sebei Community Empowerment Project, saw the need and realized that we need to perform a development obligation towards our communities. Being the practice of development and are ready to create an organization which realizes that the most vulnerable members of the community are the women, children, and the youth, and yet they are the backbone of society's growth. So they should live in an environment which is safe and secure as they focus on taking up the leadership roles, because that is now where the world is going. Our vision and mission is to promote and secure the rights of women, children, and young persons in order for them to grow up as healthy citizens and aware of their full potential. Our mission is to have a Sebei where every person is presented with the same opportunities they all deserve. Our aims are alleviation of FGM and its effects, fight gender-based violence, which is of course very rampant, advocate for child welfare. We realize we have challenges with the children. Children are not taken good care of. And then empowering families and communities to promote fairness in the society. And then promotion of social and economic empowerment of women, children, and the youth, being the future of our community and our country as Uganda. Our activities are sensitization programs, advocacy, support to the most vulnerable persons, educational support, and then offer of physical materials and items for especially disaster-stricken people and the most needed members of the community, We also do linkages and networking. The Greater Sebei Community Empowerment Project intervenes in many areas as we strive to achieve an increased political commitment through collective multi-sectoral spectrum of actors, knowing that the politicians are the drivers of our economy and our society. We also aim at achieving an improved interpersonal engagement geared towards addressing social and gender norm transformation. We further seek to achieve an improved health and well-being of women and girls through the, education, sensitization of the most at risk, while supporting them to achieve sustainable livelihoods. We also work towards the realization of an enhanced security of women and girls through the gender equality and women empowerment strategy, of course, that has been developed by government, and then what we have also developed locally. Gender-based violence in my community, specifically in Sebei, takes so many forms, including physical, psychological, and social. In fact, gender-based violence covers all spheres of life in the life of a Sabine woman. Sebei, Sabine. The forms of gender-based violence in Sebei, among them are female genital mutilation, what Rooda calls FGM. We have early marriages. We have children of up to 12 and 13 years getting married. We have teenage pregnancies. We have grievous harm inflicted on women, especially by men. We also have defilement as a very big problem. And of late, we have registered so many cases of raping young girls. It's therefore important to note that the perpetrators of all these are men and boys. They are considered to be the custodian, because they are considered to be the custodians of culture. They have leadership roles. The society holds them at very high esteem. And what are the effects of some of these ills that are inflicted on women? Number one is we have very high school dropout rate among the girls. A lot of early child marriages. We have breakages of marriages because people who marry are young. They don't understand some of these issues of marriage. And then there is a lot of poverty and death. An example of the tragic death of one of our athlete that comes from Sebei here, Rebecca, that captured the world news. She was lazed and set ablaze by a jilted lover. Currently, the Sebei Community Empowerment Project is implementing a campaign to end female genital mutilation, thanks to Bawso, because that's where we are getting our support from. It is a 12-month project in selected sub-counties, of course, of Riwa, Kwanyi, and Greek River. And despite attempts to eliminate FGM in Sebei over the past decades by government, CSOs, and other actors, there has been a lot of resistance due to the cultural values that are attached to the practice of FGM. And in a bid to curb this resistance, government of Uganda undertook an initiative through an action believed to be a long-term approach to stopping FGM. Thus, the Parliament of Uganda enacted a law in 2010 called the Female Genital Mutilation Act that barred female genital mutilation. This was viewed by government, of course, and other actors as a step towards bringing a permanent end to female genital mutilation. However, there has been serious defiance of the anti-FGM law by the perpetrating actors, where they viewed the law as an act of war against the Sabine culture. And this resulted into the cutting of more women in the year 2012. as compared to the years before the law came into effect. And this calls therefore for a dialogue approach that involves the perpetrators, the policy implementers, and the victims themselves in a bid to end female genital mutilation. What therefore are the roles of men in gender equality and women empowerment? The role of men here is very paramount in the promotion of positive social norm change so as to protect the rights of all women and girls. Their role includes, but not limited to, the following. Number one is advocacy for positive social norm change. You know, men being, of course, the custodians of culture can also be the ones to cause a change in their social or in the social well-being of the women. They are also the change agents in social transformation. They are the champions in the promotion of education of the girl child. They are the promoters of gender equality and women empowerment. They are the role models in the elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls. Men are responsible for providing security and protection for women and girls, and then also to offer community leadership and decision making. They are community gatekeepers, and their role, therefore, is to offer guidance to the communities. Now, in the Greater Sebei Community Empowerment Project, we have male champions that have been so useful in registering successes in the attitude on social status of women and girls. In Greater Sebei Empowerment Project, male volunteers have been given the following roles, which roles they have performed very well. Number one is advocating for the rights of women. They are the champions against female genital mutilation and gender-based violence. They fight for the rights to education for the girl child. They are the gatekeepers for the rights of the girl child. They sensitize the communities against gender-based violence and also against women, gender-based violence against women, men, and children. It's also important for us to note, ladies and gentlemen in the house, that there is a lot of violence that is imputed against men and the young boys. And so our male champions are helping us a lot in sensitizing the communities against gender-based violence. However, the men have not fully embraced their responsibilities, and that's why there is still a high rate of gender-based violence prevalence in our communities. And these, again, have been perpetrated by the less enlightened men and boys, as evidenced by a confession from Mr. Ngirio Samuel, the speaker of the Sabine Cultural Institution, on the video clip that we have already sent. I hope Rhoda will be able to help us. We play that clip so that members will hear. This calls for a comprehensive community empowerment intervention through a male engagement approach as highlighted below. One is personal empowerment through encouraging open discussions. Number two, social empowerment of men. You know, in Sebei, men are brought up knowing that they are not supposed to mix up with women, that they are superior. And so their social life needs to be overhauled. They need to be empowered. They need to be told that we are the same. We are a creation of God. Men also need to be economically empowered. You know, the perpetrators in most cases are the poor men. And then also, there is serious need for advocacy for policy change and understanding. So what are the factors limiting or affecting the role of men in the promotion of gender equality and women empowerment, specifically in Sebei? Number one is cultural pressure. our men here are faced with a lot of cultural pressure. They are trained to be superior. And so that pressure bowing down to the needs of women is not in their DNA. And that's the more reason that we need to empower them. There is also a lot of societal expectations from men. That this puts a lot of pressure on them. The other one is balancing empowerment with accountability. And finally, they are faced with an issue of societal compliance. They are supposed to comply with what society says about them. In conclusion, men make a change agent in society if well engaged and equipped with the appropriate community empowerment approaches. We therefore need to celebrate their achievements in many fields, but there is also a serious need to empower them. Already, women have been empowered, but are being suffocated by the less informed men. In Sebei, for example, we visited 2 prisons and we were surprised that there was no female inmate. Many of the inmates were young boys and middle-aged men. Therefore, there is serious need to intervene, and also as we celebrate men. Attached to our presentation is a photo, 2 photos, 3 photos for the slain athlete, that is our dear Cheptegei Rebecca. And then we also have a group of cultural leaders whom we engaged and shared a lot about the plight of women and the more reason why we should be able to stop female genital mutilation and gender-based violence. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to me, and I wish you very good deliberations.
Sam, I'm really sorry about the slides. Yeah, that was my mistake. I just wasn't really clear. Do you want me to play the video now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lena, there's no sound. Are you able to?
Oh. Sorry, I think there's a setting I'm forgetting to.
Right there, at the right there, like just on the video below, there's an icon for sound. Yes. Towards your right.
No, I'm not sure. This one? No. No, but that's looks like it should go.
If you click play, it will appear.
Can you hear
Move
that?
your cursor on the move the cursor on the video.
No. Sorry.
I played this yesterday. I know it plays.
Yeah, no, it definitely plays. It definitely plays. I just feel like, yeah. Sorry, if anyone can help, please jump in. I'm a little confused what I'm missing.
Can you hear me, Lena?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You need to stop sharing, and then when you hit share again, you have to make sure that you hit share with sound.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it was. Thank you.
Well done, Kath.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Kath.
Now, as the clan leaders and as the speaker of the Sabine Cultural Institution, we realize female FGM is a bad practice and it is a harmful practice to women. And we have taken the lead as elders to say no to female circumcision. What we are doing now as the clan leadership, we are adopting Swarop. This is alternative. This is Sabine women alternative rite of passage. As we close the FGM, we are creating an alternative for women to learn a number of things so that they become women of responsibility. And we are saying no to female circumcision. And we encourage also the government policies where we are sending girls indiscriminately to go to school. And then eventually, when they go to school, they get enlightened and then they know the effects of FGM. And everywhere now, there is no cultural leader who promotes FGM. FGM in Uganda is outlawed. And for us, we encourage all partners, all stakeholders, and all cultural leaders that we say no and no to female genital mutilation.
Thank you for that. So if I can just come in and, yeah, if you just go on the recommendation slide, that'd be great. So thank you so much, Sam, for that presentation. That was really insightful. And just really, these are just some recommendations and way forward in terms of how we can strengthen the project. So just to continue the promotion of male champions in the community, we believe that males have the power to influence other men and encourage them to examine their own biases and attitudes. Continued community dialogue and raising awareness, this is key in creating safe spaces to have these discussions and evaluate different perspectives and build on empathy for those affected. More work on educating boys and young men. I think this has been the biggest sort of reflection for us, to be honest. We feel as though that young men and boys have been to an extent let down, and there's not support services available for them compared to young girls and women. So I think the way forward really to eradicate FGM and other forms of violence is really to be focusing on young boys and men and giving them the opportunity really to be advocates for change and contribute to societal progress. And we believe that there should be more ambassadors of anti-FGM, both in schools and in the community, to raise awareness and shaping early attitudes and behavior. And we believe that in order to change any attitude, you have to start with the young. So education is key. We hope that you've taken something away from this short presentation and understand where we are with our project and what we have done here and in Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhoda, and thank you, Samuel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to open for questions, comments, and reflections. And while we do that, I'd like to encourage us to personally reflect on what being an ally for gender equality means to you as a person and how it can be put into practice. And also like on challenges, what do you see as the biggest barriers for men in stepping into the role of gender equality advocates, and how can they be supported? And in workplaces, what do you think are specific steps that can be taken by male leaders in order to create an inclusive and equitable workplace culture? And lastly, looking at the fact that we can't change people, but we can empower them to change and help them to change. How can society be empowered to move from a place where men stand a better chance of being listened to, where men are gatekeepers of culture and tradition, especially in Africa, because it is the same cultural and traditional practices that are a cause of inequality and systems like patriarchy that systematically marginalizes women. So, any questions, comments, reflections, insights, any contribution really? The floor is open. Yes, Steve.
Yeah, that was quite a long list, Joanna, and my mind is a bit boggled by all of that. I feel like maybe I just want to try to focus on one very small part of it. I mean, for me, the most optimistic part of that whole thing was the presentation, the video that was shown, because it feels to me that it's when men in his position take that view that will be tremendously influential. So that made me feel optimistic. I guess my main question or observation is whether or not Bawso is working, and I'm thinking perhaps their work in Wales, working in partnership with the other. There are quite a few organizations emerging who are very much committed to reducing male gender violence specifically. And you know, I mean, I guess what I'd like to say is I know about quite a lot of these organizations because it's part of my work is to be aware of them. And throughout my work in community development, it feels like it's always much more, one's work is more impactful and more effective when there can be as much collaboration between organizations who are sharing the same goals. And this is not to say that Bawso and Rooda and that they're probably very aware of all these organizations, but I've come across some quite recently that I didn't know about, and I would be happy to share not pages and pages, but just maybe a list of organizations, just in case they don't know about them, you know, that they could usefully collaborate with, because, you know, this is, yeah, it feels that's got to be the way forward, hasn't it? It's got to be a sort of the more general this, and after all, what you're arguing for is something extremely rational. I mean, I cannot understand the cultural roots of FGM. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. It seems that everybody loses, but you know, culture is a strange thing. But that's not my role. So I don't need to do that. All I can do, and anyway, just to say I will do that. But I have one question. Rooda said, if I think that FGM is not rooted in religion, it's rooted in culture. And I'm not clear in my own mind what the difference between those two things is, because to me, the religion is a part of the culture and vice versa.
Thank you, Steve. I will definitely take you up on you sharing the list with us. Absolutely. There are many organizations that we work with, but yeah, and I absolutely agree that collaboration is really, really important. So thank you for that. And I would love for you to share that with us. In terms of religion and culture, I think there is a difference within religion and culture. Religion is something that is scripture, and you have your do's and don'ts. Whereas culture is completely different in terms of where you are. So the culture that you might have in Wales or in Africa is completely different. From one city to the other, it's completely different. Within the same country, it's completely different. So culture is different. And this practice is culturally and traditionally rooted within that particular culture. So yeah, I definitely, you know, this is without a shadow of a doubt completely different. And I can only talk from my perspective in terms of me as a Muslim. So nowhere does it say in the Bible that I follow for this to ever occur, or that this is something that needs to be performed, or almost like saying, it's almost like God saying, "Ooh, I've, you know, forgot to do something, so, you know, you need to do this job." So, you know, we are perfect beings, and this is nothing to do with religion, and I'm sure Samuel can agree, because I know he's a follower of Christianity. There's no scripture that says or that tells you to do this. So it's two different things.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rhoda, and thank you, Steve, for that observation. Yeah, true. There is a difference between there is no relationship actually. If you look at the traditions, like if for the case of Sebei, for example, there is a way the Sabini people do things different. Like if you looked at FGM, female genital mutilation, is unique to the Sabini people, and there is no other part in Uganda except the Pokot land, which is they are relatives with the Sabini people, and then also in Somalia, where they also have relatives. Otherwise, if you go to places like Uganda, they are doing different things. If you go to Busoga, different things altogether. And so these are unique to specific tribes. Thank you.
I only wanted to make a very quick observation, which is, as I see it, religion gets interpreted in different places in very different ways, and that's where there is this overlap. So I very much take your point, but I would observe that there's quite a bit of overlap between the two in terms of how religion. Anyway, let's not get philosophical. We're interested in practical change here, and you're doing great work, and I'm really pleased to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve, for that question and contribution, and thank you for offering to share that list with Rooda. I think it'll make more sense if you share it with Lina, since she has a list of participants she can share with everyone. Are there any other questions, comments? You can just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak. Sorry, Julian, after Jennifer. Jennifer, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I wondered if you could say a little more about what you found in these discussions with men. What is there pushback, and what is the kind of arguments or pushback that you get from that, and how do you address that? So how is it that you then explain? But what are, in very practical ways, what are some of the responses that you get from men who are not immediately supportive of the idea of change in this way?
I'm sorry, I'm going to need you to repeat your question.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. I wondered if we could say a little more on when these discussions take place at communities and with men, what kind of pushback, what kind of arguments do you have to deal with, potentially coming from men sometimes, about why practices should continue, and then how do you address those? What are some of the reasons in very practical ways that men resist changes?
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Okay. Samuel, Rooda?
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, my sister, for asking. There are several responses that men give, depending on their level of exposure. Like you already viewed from the video clip of the speaker of the Sebei Cultural Institution. If you met men like that, they will obviously give you very positive responses, and they are into fighting. But in most cases, there is a high rate of illiteracy among our people in Sebei. And so most of their responses are actually stereotype. They have, these are things that are cultural, they are things that are carried from their forefathers, and they feel things should continue the way it is. And that's why in my presentation, I said it is very important that men are empowered economically, they're empowered socially, they're empowered in all spheres of life. You'll also realize that in Sebei, for example, so many men do not want to interact with other cultures. And if you look at even marriage, it's at times difficult for a Sabine man to marry from out. It is recently coming up, but such people who marry from outside are looked at as outcasts. So there is a lot of stereotype, what was carried. And so to answer your question, and these are also demands of the culture. Let me give you one very absurd one, that some of the ladies in Sebei demand to be beaten because that is a sign of love. If you are not beaten by your husband, that means you are not loved. And so that kind of culture is what needs to be dealt with. And so the response is, that is who we are, and that is how we are carrying on with our culture. I don't know whether I've been able to answer. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. most of these practices, like inequality, gender-based violence, FGM, and all the other practices that are prejudicial against women, are centered around culture and tradition. And unless we empower communities, society, to have a different view on culture and tradition, because usually culture and tradition are things that are said to be set on stone. We can't change this because it's culture, it's tradition, it's the way we do things. Without realizing that the way things are done is the main cause of problems like gender-based violence, inequality, and unless we move from that place um, of, 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 of thinking that culture should not be changed, then yes. Julian, we have 6 minutes. So in 1 minute, please ask your question and say your piece. Thank you.
Thank you. I would be really interested in your reflections on the balance between two different approaches to securing equality. And I'm sure that there are others, but one approach being working within the current prevailing culture, seeing men as cultural gatekeepers and working with those cultural gatekeepers to so that they will support equality. And another approach being trying to remove the idea that men are cultural gatekeepers and bringing some equality to the cultural gatekeeping and to the overall culture. Are those both valid approaches, and what sort of balance might we strike between them?
Okay. Can I respond?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julian, for that. Those approaches are good, but like I presented before, there is what is called affirmative action in Uganda. And this affirmative action gives a lot of attention to the ladies. And so most of the women are empowered. But now they are being suffocated by the cultural norms. And like I said before, that men are the custodians of culture. And so all we have to do is to empower the men, train them, teach them. And then the issue of gatekeepers, I think you're right. That's a good approach that we need to put in place, that we also include women in the gatekeeping, so that all of us have the responsibility to safeguard our community members. And again, like I also said, this violence is not only mooted on the women, it's also on the men, especially by the empowered women. And so there should be a collective responsibility, both from the women and the men's side. And that calls for empowerment of both sexes. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. If there aren't any other questions, we have 3 minutes, so I'm going to hand over to Lena.
Rooda has her hands up.
Rooda, go ahead.
Hi.
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention before we close, Bawso has a yearly conference. So we have an international day for FGM. So this year it's going to be in Swansea. So anybody who's in Wales is more than welcome to attend. If you do decide to come, if you can just get in touch with me, that'd be great. So we're going to be having counsellors, we're going to be having the mayor, head teachers, all different organisations come into this event. It's a yearly event, and we would love to have your support if you can make it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rooda. Lena.
Yeah, I'm happy to take it from there. Yeah, it's almost over. I will run a quick poll to get some feedback from you, if that's okay. I feel like it went by too quickly, the hour, and we could have talked a lot longer about this. But yeah, maybe just a reason to continue the conversation somehow. Can you see the poll?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. I'll leave it up for just a minute and then close it. While I'm waiting, just to say, yeah, thanks very much to Rooda Ahmed and Samuel Sokuton for your presentation, which was really, really insightful and really good to see the work that you're doing. And also, of course, thank you to Joanna for chairing. Yeah, I do feel like there's definitely room for continuation of this. And yeah, look forward to future sessions and future conversations. I'll just wait a little bit longer because I don't see. Yeah, I can see people are still filling in the poll.
If anybody's got any suggestions of future sessions, they feel like shouting out now.
Yeah, I mean, in particular about, the role of men, I guess that can really be, and maybe particular issues that men are actually facing. I think that was something someone mentioned before, but yeah, please shout out.
This is
Or get back in touch with us later. Sorry, Jenny, yep.
this is self-centered
Steve,
because
I was just
we're in a project
sorry.
at the moment. Sorry, Joanna, go on. You first.
Go ahead, my love.
Oh, bless you. 2 J names. I think we both heard it as well. We're doing a project in Uganda at the moment on livelihoods, women's empowerment through increased livelihoods. And so, yeah, if anyone else is doing livelihoods work, or that could be addressed as a topic, I think that would be really good. One of the things about men actually around that I think we're beginning to experience is just the kind of the sense that they're being left out. The sense that there's a lot of focus on supporting women and women's groups, and where's the balance for supporting men, and what do you do once you particularly promote and particularly highlight a woman's livelihood in a context where the men are struggling as well. So yeah, I'd be really interested to discuss that at all in any future sessions.
Sounds really good. Kath, sorry, I'm going to.
Yeah, no, I
Sorry.
realised that I'm reacting. Yeah, I'm realising that I'm reacting to what Jenny's saying rather than contributing to the conversation that it has finished. So yeah, maybe I'll just come to the next session and then we can debate out there rather than taking time in a meeting that's finished. Sorry, guys.
Oh, good. Also, Joanna, it's your position to call on people.
I don't know, Kat, maybe you can share. Maybe not all of us will be here in the next section.
Well, Joanna, I don't have any expertise. It just occurred to me that it could be a bit of male fragility, having had generations and of being the prominent members of society, making key decisions and having, authority and decision making. To then feel a little bit fragile that a project is focusing on women, where historically it hasn't happened, and so it feels a bit uncomfortable because they're not used to it, as opposed to about being perception as opposed to actually men being marginalized and maybe not being realistic appreciation of the power and the privilege that they have, and that we don't always have to listen to every I don't know.
Yeah, good topic for next time.
Yeah,
Joanna,
definitely. Definitely a topic for next time. But thank you so much for making that. Thank you so much for saying it, because it might provoke some thoughts in someone that may also not be here. next time. So thank you, Lina.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think we should probably end it. Sorry, Akmal. I think we'll pass it, but please get in touch. Yeah, if there's something. Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Alina. I just wanted to say about Jennifer, the Livelihood Project. I think that's a good topic. I was going to say that because I think men are very important in even driving that agenda as well.
Yeah, and let's do it in a context of collaboration between men and women, because it's a win-win. And if it's presented as an either or, then there will be resistance for sure. But if we can look at these things, it has to be collaboration all the way. And I think that the key is for men to realize that actually they will benefit themselves from the benefits that accrue to women. It's a win-win. I don't see, but I don't think that's always understood.
Okay, I can see we've got a lot of material for a future session. Okay, great. I'm going to end the session, but thanks to everyone for coming and for contributing. And yeah, good to see you and looking forward to see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Lina.
you.
Well done.